In September of 2017, a young French nanny was tortured, murdered, and thrown on a garden bonfire. They cooked chicken on a barbecue nearby to try to hide the smell. This case takes place in London, 2017. London is a vibrant and diverse city, renowned for its rich history, iconic landmarks, and bustling cultural scene. As one of the most cosmopolitan cities, it attracts people from all corners of the globe, each bringing their unique energy and perspective to the capital. From the fast-paced hustle and bustle of the financial district to the trendy neighborhoods of Shoreditch and Camden, London has something for everyone. Whether you're a fan of museums, music, art, or simply soaking up the atmosphere, this city is sure to capture your heart and leave you wanting more. No doubt, London is a great place to travel or work abroad like Sophie did. But what happened to her in the middle of the capital is simply heartbreaking. But the story begins in France. Sophie Lionnet was a 20-year-old woman from a small rural town in France. She was described as a rather shy and reserved person, and was known to sometimes be a little naive. Sophie wanted to work with children. When she left school, she enrolled in a caster study childcare. Not too long after passing this course, Sophie was given an opportunity to work as an au pair in London. Sophie saw this as a great opportunity to learn English and to get some experience in working with children. After some consideration, Sophie took up the offer. The family she would be living with suited her very well. The couple were both French nationals who lived in London, and she would be looking after the mother's two children. The mother was a 35-year-old woman named Sabrina Kouider, and her partner was 40-year-old Ouissem Medouni, or Sam. On the outside, the couple seemed successful. Sam was a financial analyst and Sabrina was a fashion designer. But in reality, they had a strange and turbulent relationship. Sophie was always very pleasant and polite. One neighbor said she was an angel, and she was so good with the children and had a lovely face. She was kind and quite shy, and with the children, she set up a mini shop on the street selling sweets and biscuits. Sophie also befriended a lot of other nannies working in the area because there were quite a few. And when she would call her mother, she seemed really happy with how everything was going. She said that she got along great with Sabrina and they would often have chats over tea. And since Sabrina did work as a makeup artist at one time, she was really into doing her makeup, and she even gave Sophie a makeover. Unfortunately, though, it wasn't long before things started to go downhill. Sabrina started becoming a lot more demanding, and she was forcing Sophie to work 80 hours a week, and she was only getting paid £63 a month. And the residents of Southfield started to notice that they hardly ever saw Sabrina with the children anymore, and that Sophie was the one that would drop them off, pick them up, and do all of the grocery shopping. She was pretty much doing everything. As time went by, residents of Southfield started to notice that Sophie was becoming really thin, and she was looking quite disheveled, which they just kind of chalked up to maybe she was adjusting to life with the kids, and was maybe getting a little bit overwhelmed by them. Michael Cromer, the owner of the local fish and chip shop, was one of the people who noticed this. He noticed she seemed to be struggling, and so he asked her if everything was okay, if there was anything that was wrong, and she said, "You know, my mom back in France is not doing so well." And so he started to give Sophie some chips for free and some soft drinks for free. When Sabrina found out about this, she actually went into the fish and chip shop and she screamed at Michael. She screamed at Sophie and dragged her out of the shop. Michael saw this and he was shocked. So the next time that he saw Sophie, he offered to pay for her flight back to France, but Sophie declined. Michael didn't push it, because he didn't know what was going on behind closed doors. Sabrina was known to have these violent outbursts, and so he didn't know, and nobody knew, that behind closed doors, Sophie was actually being abused by Sabrina and Ouissem. And what's crazy is that Sabrina actually started to accuse Sophie of having an affair with Sabrina's ex-boyfriend and Boyzone founder Mark Walton, who lives in LA on the other side of the world. Sophie doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who Sophie is. They've never even lived in the UK at the same time. He moved to LA before Sophie was hired as an au pair years before. Sophie obviously denied everything, but Sabrina was not having it, And so she started to deny Sophie food. That's why she was looking so thin and disheveled, was because she was being denied food. Sabrina constantly interrogated her about Mark and would say horrible things to her. Sophie didn't tell anybody because she feared Sabrina and Ouissem. She was just learning how to speak English, and she was very shy and quiet. So she's not just going to go and tell people she doesn't know. She didn't even tell her mom. She told her mom that she wanted to come home, but she just said that it was because she was a bit overwhelmed with the kids. And her mom encouraged her to stick it out because she had no idea what was going on. On the 20th of September 2017, the fire services received a call from a member of the public. This person was calling about some thick black smoke that was coming from Sabrina and Sam's garden. They told the operator that the fire had been burning for over 3 hours and that it was giving off a foul smell. The fire services arrived on the scene and were welcomed to the garden of the flat. In the garden, they found Sabrina and Sam cooking chicken on the barbecue, while the bonfire was raging next to them. The firefighters extinguished the flames from the bonfire, but once the flames were out, they noticed something strange in the ashes. The firefighters turned to the couple and asked them what they were burning. Sam just told them that he had put the remains of a sheep's carcass he had cut up onto the fire, but the firefighters were not too convinced. One of them spotted what seemed to be a pair of glasses and some clothes, and then they found what looked to be a human nose and human fingers. Sabrina and Sam were burning the body of Sophie. Sam continued to try and tell the firefighters that the remains were that of a sheep, but they obviously knew he was lying. The police were called and the couple were arrested. A post-mortem was carried out on the remains found in the fire, and they were able to positively identify the body as Sophie. Her body was too badly burned to give a definitive answer as to how she died. However, her lungs were inflated, which is a sign that she could have drowned. Sophie also had 4 broken ribs, a broken jaw, and a broken sternum. It was clear that she had been subject to some horrific violence. On the 5th of January 2018, Sam finally gave a statement to the police. He told them that Sophie had accidentally drowned while he was interrogating her about her involvement with Mark Walton. He explained that Sophie would be forced to sit in a bath and answer questions about him, and that he and Sabrina both believed that Mark and Sophie were working to destroy their lives. If Sophie didn't give a satisfactory answer, her head would be forced under the water. Sam said that during one of these interrogations, he punched Sophie in the face, rendering her unconscious, and that her head slipped under the water. He said that once this happened, he tried to pull her out and revive her, but to no avail, and that after accidentally killing her, he put her body into a suitcase, and then both he and Sabrina burned her body in the garden. Following this confession, Sam tried to enter a plea for manslaughter. This plea was rejected. Sam then heard that Sabrina had pinned all wrongdoing on him, essentially trying to rid herself of all responsibility. Sabrina claimed that she had been asleep and awoke to find Sophie dead at the hands of Sam. And so, on the 15th of March 2018, he told the investigators that his first story was untrue, and that he had only given this statement to protect Sabrina. He now claimed that he had gone to bed on the 18th of September, and was awakened by the sound of Sabrina repeatedly saying, "What have I done?" He got up and entered the bathroom to see Sophie in the bath, no longer breathing. After the CPR failed, they placed Sophie inside a suitcase and hid her in the house. When the children asked where Sophie was the next day, they told them that she had gone back to France. A couple of days later, they burned the body. Both Sabrina and Sam both claimed to be asleep when Sophie was killed, although they did both admit they burned Sophie's body together. Sam told the investigators that he had witnessed Sabrina attack Sophie on multiple occasions, but that he was never a part of it. During the investigation, the police discovered 16 recordings on the couple's mobile phones. The audio recordings were of the couple interrogating Sophie, and the police stated that in the background you could hear Sophie being slapped and punched. In one of these recordings, Sabrina made a very strange statement. She told Sophie that if she would tell the truth, she would protect her, and she would have Mark killed and eat him raw in front of her. The trial lasted for 2 months. During the trial, Sabrina read a letter of apology. The jury found the couple guilty of murdering Sophie. Upon being sentenced, Sabrina sobbed. The two of them were sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 30 years. Following their sentencing, Sophie's mother made a statement addressed to Sabrina and Sam. Her father also made a truly heartbreaking statement in which he said, "I will never hear Sophie say to me, 'Dad, I'm getting married,' or 'Dad, I'm gonna have a baby.' These people have destroyed a whole family." Tell us about your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.